In this book, you'll find details about the ancient culture of India and about our hidden past. Get the book on Amazon or read it for free on Kindle. Hello, my name is Diego Antolini. I'm with the Explain group, and in this series of videos, I'm going to read some excerpts from the book and show you some pictures. The book contains more than 50 images that illustrates history of the Nagas across India and the Bharat subcontinents. So we touch briefly on Pakistan as well as Cambodia and Southeast Asia. But let's get down to the first chapter of the book, The Rise of Mohenjo-daro. I speak about the Indus Valley civilization. As we can see from the map here, the Indus Valley civilization is mature phase, which hosted a highly advanced civilization developed in that area, and at its peak was quite a vast area comprising part of the Pakistan and northwestern India. To understand India's history and culture is to delve deeply into the very origin of mankind. All data collected over the past decades by researchers point at the Indus Valley as the dwelling place for a mysterious advanced civilization. Later on, people migrating from the most diverse places surrounding the Indian landmass mingled and integrated, laying the foundation of what is India today. By the 4th millennium BCE, India had emerged as a region with a highly developed civilization and one of the most powerful empires of that era. The question remains, however, in how advanced were the people living in the Indus Valley? Who were they? And where did they come from? This culture is known as Harappan or Indus Valley civilization. It flourished around 2500 BCE in the territories that are now Pakistan and Western India and became one of the 4 largest civilizations of the ancient world, together with Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China, just to put in perspective the extent of that empire. And then we move forward, we fast forward after I outline a little bit more about the cities, the 2 major cities in the Indus Valley area, Harappan and Mohenjo-daro. Then I go to highlights a little bit about Mohenjo-daro here. And I write, together with Harappa, Mohenjo-daro represents the evidence of a flourishing advanced civilization which was concentrated in the Indus Valley. According to the existing data, Mohenjo-daro was built around 2600 BCE and existed until about 1800 BCE. The ruins of the city were officially discovered in 1922 by Rakaldas Bandyopadhyay of the Archaeological Survey of India. The presence of some strange buried structure was known since the end of the 19th century. So it was known, but it was not discovered because at that time there was a construction going on and it was in the best interest probably of the government not to unearth too much of the archaeological evidence at that time, as it happened also in other countries. But once the findings were unearthed, the researchers were baffled in discovering at least 44 human skeletons scattered around, sprawled on the streets in grotesque, contorted positions, as if death had come so unexpectedly and with such violence that they had no place to run or hide. These skeletons are thousands of years old, didn't decay, and were not touched by wild animals, perhaps because they were found to be the most radioactive as much as those of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. So the conclusion is all too obvious. If we think that this mysterious and developed civilization ceased to be instantaneously 2000 years before the time of Christ, only an atomic explosion could have caused this massive event. And obviously there are evidence to sustain this. With the modern, we can see here some pictures of melted rock and metal, as well as the skeletons, bones fused together in Mohenjo-daro as a result of exposure to an intense heat wave, possibly of nuclear origin. So I was talking about evidence. Soviet researchers found a skeleton with a radioactive level 50 times higher than normal. And other cities have been found just outside that area in northern India showing evidence of an explosion of great magnitude. In particular, the area between the Ganges River and the Raj Mahal mountain range seems to have been subjected to an intense heat wave. Huge masses of walls and foundations were found fused together, literally vitrified, where there is no sign of volcanic eruption in Mohenjo-daro or on any ancient site nearby. This event
Therefore, it can only be explained by a nuclear blast or some other weapon which produced similar effects. And we can see here two images, one the ruins of Mohenjo-daro, and then below the Harappa in Indus Valley. I was, again, speaking of evidence, not only the modern evidence talk about this possible atomic blast, but also the ancient text of India. The description of the immense power released by such a weapon is recorded in the Mahabharata, section Dronaparva, where it is called Agneya. It was like a shining rocket whose heat burned the world like a fever. Then cold winds, cardinal points became clear and lightful. This is a poetic description of such a tragedy as only an atomic blast can be. In the second chapter, in the fall of Mohenjo-daro, I go on and I stress a little bit more about what's contained in the two great epics of the Veda, namely Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Much has been said and written about these two documents. To many, they represent religious and symbolic metaphors of virtues and sins that man should follow or avoid in order to have a good life. To some, they could be a hyper-narrative of true facts which occurred in ancient times, and that must be interpreted to find the real meaning behind the fantastic additions made to strongly impress certain principles upon the reader's mind. To a very few, however, both documents are literal accounts of true facts, exactly as they were written. Which means that back to the beginning of time and for a long stretch of human history, gods indeed walked among our forefathers. And if we follow this last theory, as indeed we do, we can find remarkable similarities with ancient texts of Egypt, the Book of Akher, Sumeria, the Enuma Elish, the Americas, Popol Vuh, the British Isles with Lebur Gabala Erun, and China with the Tao Te Ching. And here we see an image of the creation of life as described in the Popol Vuh. You can see the humans at the very center, created, enshrouded by the earth, and coming from the earth with two serpents framing the creation process. And of course, there is a reason for it, and that's the main theme of the book. The whole world seems to be weaved by several threads stemming from the same origin. And only a comparative analysis of the ancient sources and their realistic approach can maybe shed some light upon the fabric of the multiversal realities in which we constantly ebb and flow. With this, I conclude the first video, bidding you farewell, and please stay in touch with me because I'm going to record more videos, and in the next ones I will go on with more chapters, more excerpts from my book, Nagas, a Shapeshifting History.